We're going to get started here, guys, shortly. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. Live on YouTube, live on my personal Facebook, J-Dubs. Live on Twitter, J-Dubs. Not live on LinkedIn, Judah.
Give it a second.
Confirm when we're live on LinkedIn. I'm getting messages that we're not live on LinkedIn. You had Today Manana live on LinkedIn this morning.
I know, and now it's doing the same thing it was doing yesterday. I'm going to work on it.
Live on the group. Like and share the show, guys. Retweet the show. Get rocking and rolling here in a matter of moments. The Cree Deeds investigation I find fascinating. We'll talk about that on the show here. Are we live on LinkedIn?
No. I can work on it if you want us to go live.
Well, I mean, you're just clicking a button. What does working on it mean?
It means deleting it and reauthorizing it.
How long is that going to take for you to do?
It may have gone live. Check it now.
Okay. Yeah, we're live. Thank you. Excellent. Good job. All right, we're going to rock and roll here, guys, on a Thursday. Smith and Missile, Scott Smith and Fred Missile in the studio tomorrow for a debate on Real Talk with Keith Smith, 10:15 a.m. tomorrow. That should be a fascinating 1 hour and change of straight content. All right, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Welcome to the I Love CVille show, guys. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. Good Thursday afternoon to you. A lot to cover on the program. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines, kind of a game plan for what we want to do with the content. But we encourage you, the viewer and listener, if there's an idea that you want to see on the show, some type of content, some type of conversation, pass it along to us. Our direct messages are open. A lot of you guys have my phone number, text message, email. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me. We are equal opportunity folks as it applies to content. Even if we don't agree with it, we still want to talk about it if it's local to Charlottesville. Cree Deeds has got a deadline for the University of Virginia and its Board of Visitors that's 7 days away. This is a letter that Cree Deeds penned to the BOV that I think is fantastic. I mean, Cree Deeds is a savvy and seasoned politician, and he's asking questions that we all should be asking as it applies to Jim Ryan's resignation, how much influence the Department of Justice had, and whether BOV members that were yet on the board, specifically the rector and the vice rector, had anything to do with Ryan's resignation behind the scenes in conjunction with the DOJ and while they were kind of in the on-deck circle before being appointed to the BOV. We're going to set the table with that to lead the show. Judah will give us the who, what, when, where, why, and a fascinating article that's in the Cavalier Daily. I bring this up now because the deadline is legitimately 7 days away. We're going to talk on today's program tourism. How about this number? Was it $96 million a day in 2024, Judah?
Something like that. Let me see.
Tourism in Virginia in 2024, record-setting total of $35.1 billion, a $2 billion year-over-year increase versus 2023. That works its way out to be, was it 96 million a day? It's in right under the lead headline.
Yep.
$96 million a day spent on tourism in Virginia in 2024, ladies and gentlemen. That is just mind-boggling. We'll talk about that on today's show. A topic we didn't get to yesterday: why are homes not selling as fast in Central Virginia? This is not across all of Central Virginia, but it is a common denominator. There are still pockets in Central Virginia where when a home is listed, it moves quickly. That Lewis Mountain to Crozet 240, 250 corridor, that Ivy corridor, the homes are still moving extremely quickly within days. But for the most part, Central Virginia, ladies and gentlemen, the listings are getting long in the tooth, and price improvements or price cuts are happening left and right. What gives? I want to spend some time on that conversation today. I didn't get to it yesterday. The interest rate environment is virtually the same. So what gives in this scenario? We'll talk about that on the I Love CVille show today. And I want to get to the best use of Guadalajara on Fontaine Avenue. It's for sale, $1,400,000. I mean, is this a brewery? Is someone crazy enough to get in the beer game at this stage of the world where young millennials and Gen Zers are not drinking as much? Is this a restaurant play again? Is this a demolish the buildings, Guadalajara and Atlas, and build something else in its place? One thing we can say about that Guadalajara location and that Fontaine Avenue location is the proximity to the interstate, to the bypass, to the University of Virginia, to the Paul Manning Biotech Institute. It's a fantastic spot. And it's in a lot of ways one of the key pieces of real estate that will determine that urban Fry Springs setting. I'd say probably your two most key pieces of real estate over there are the pizza place, Pi Napo, that's owned by a friend of the program, Terry Hinderman, who's a fantastic squash player. He also owns the shopping center across the street from the Fry Springs Station Pizzeria, and that's that Maury Avenue shopping center. There's a Chinese restaurant there. That's where, is it Sabarco's?
Yeah.
Donut shop is there. There's a bike shop there. So I've dubbed friend of the program, Terry Hinderman, the mayor of Fry Springs because of his ownership of those two commercial real estate parcels. The late Mr. Wendell, who has since passed away, he owns the Dirty Nelly's Food Mart parcel in Fry Springs. That one is extremely valuable as well. So what would happen with Guadalajara? What happens with Atlas? Does the University of Virginia pursue it? A lot of questions that I want to ask today, and hopefully we can figure out the answers together. I want to highlight the Vermillion family, John Vermillion and Andrew Vermillion. The Vermillions are 5 generations strong, ladies and gentlemen, in Albemarle County. John Vermillion and Andrew Vermillion are class acts. The Charlottesville Sanitary Supply is located on East High Street. It's online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. That business is keeping our family pool, the Miller swimming pool, beautifully blue with chlorine and water quality and safety. The Vermillion family has a mechanic on site at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. So if your vacuum is broken, your pool cleaning robot is broken, you take it in there, they can repair it if they can't, if you need help with it. And any sanitary needs that you have, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply is who you should contact. A lot I want to cover on the program. I want to welcome Judah Wickower, whose opinion is valuable. A lot to discuss today. Zillow published a story this week that interest rates need to drop to the mid-4s for homes to start getting more affordable, and for homeowners that secured 2% and 3% interest rates during COVID to start putting their homes back on the market. They suggest that number's in the mid-4s. Last year, that number was in the mid-5s. It had a 5 handle with it. It's dropped to the 4s because the inventory is getting more expensive. So even if the rates drop, the price points have gone up, so they kind of counterbalance each other. The inventory is not moving as fast in Charlottesville. We'll get to that in a matter of moments. But my friend, this Cree Deeds Cavalier Daily report, this investigation that's got a deadline of a week away, is absolutely fascinating.
It is. I don't know how much does he have the Does he have the
influence in the
authority to force them to answer these 46 questions?
That came up. That very question came up, and I'm not going to say who brought it up. I was touring some real estate yesterday in downtown Charlottesville. Commercial real estate, beautiful real estate, Class A real estate.
Huge. Everybody loves the real estate.
And someone we came across while this unnamed gentleman and I were touring, a known commodity locally, David Toscano. We ran into David Toscano, and we started talking about this Cree Deeds investigation and the deadline and the questions that Cree is asking. And you bring up those questions here in a matter of moments. Mm-hmm. And the unnamed gentleman says, does he have the authority to do what he's doing with the Board of Visitors? And David Toscano said, absolutely, Cree Deeds does.
Really?
He absolutely has the authority. And David Toscano, ladies and gentlemen, would know. I mean, you're talking about a city councilor for Charlottesville, a mayor for Charlottesville, a delegate in the Virginia House for decades, a 57th district representative. The 57th, of course, is made up of the city of Charlottesville and part of Albemarle County. He served as House Minority Leader from 2011 to 2018. He first won a Democratic nomination in District 57 in the House of Delegates in 2005. I mean, here's a guy that made a living in the House of Delegates for decades, and he said absolutely Cree Deeds does have this authority.
That's wild.
Set the stage for us with some of the questions Cree Deeds is asking.
Well, one of the reasons I say it's wild is because there's an interesting article in Bacon's Rebellion, this written by Gordon C. Morse, and he notes the fact that there are 100 delegates and 40 senators, and imagine if they all had 46 questions to ask of the Board of Visitors.
Fair?
That's 6,440 questions.
Fair?
And that's crazy. And he also went through the document. I believe it's 6 pages, and in the 46 questions, there are 183 repetitions of "did you," and
which, I mean, that's some man. I mean, come on. I mean,
he's writing 46 questions about "did you this, did you that, did you this," and here's one of the
guy's a lawyer by trade.
Here's one of the questions.
Cree Deeds is a lawyer by trade.
Yeah, wait till you hear this. You'll believe it. What is your understanding of the significance of having lost the confidence of the people who educate students in that university?
Put lower thirds on screen. There should be 2 lower thirds rotating on screen for this. Go ahead.
Would you want to answer that question?
I mean, what's your problem with the question? You think it's too broad?
I think it's...
You think, I mean, it's not specific, it's not pointed enough? I mean, just out of curiosity, your standpoint, you're a very reasonable person. What's the problem with how he's asked these questions? Is it the number of questions he's asked?
I think it's the number of questions. I think it's the fact that he thinks they have the answers. He's asking these 2 people. They were, I don't believe they were in their current positions.
No, this was before they were on the board. Before they took their spots as rector and vice rector on the 1st of July.
Yeah.
They were meeting prior to being on the board. Mm-hmm. Meeting with the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Prior to being on the board.
Right.
Okay, I'm curious here, viewers and listeners. Before they're appointed to be on the Board of Visitors, before they were the rector and vice rector on the BOV, they're meeting on behalf of the Board of Visitors before being on the board? You don't have an issue with that?
Do we know that they were meeting, like you do we know that they were representing the board at that time?
A few days before they're the rector and vice rector, they're meeting with the DOJ?
And let me get this straight. They were not on the Board of Visitors at all before then?
Not at that time. Not till July 1. That's the point of Creed Deeds' investigation. Did you read the Cavalier Daily article?
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that's odd?
I think the whole thing is odd. I think it's odd that nobody has answers. I think it's odd that the Board of Visitors has been, like, tight as a clam. That they've waited this long to meet in the first place.
The deadline's 7 days away.
Yeah.
There's so much more to this story.
Mm-hmm.
So much more to the story. Did a conversation happen with two people before they were officially on the Board of Visitors? Did a conversation happen with these two people who are now the rector and vice rector? Mm-hmm. Did they meet with the DOJ and say, if Jim Ryan resigns, will we still get this federal funding? And will you back off the intensity of what you're doing to us?
So is the allegation that they came on the board, went and met with President Ryan and said, if you leave, everything will be dropped?
That's one of them. Did they broker a deal with the DOJ before they were officially on the board for the DOJ to stop investigating the University of Virginia and to keep and maintain federal funding? That is significant.
Yeah.
Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. It is significant.
And Deeds, and I, granted how Deeds is asking these questions, there's a lot of them. How he's presenting the questions is more in presenting as an attorney than he's presenting, as, what? Open-ended questions like you would want to see in other investigations. But 7 days from now, I think if the BOV responds, we're going to have a lot more clarity of what's going on.
Yeah, no doubt.
What else are you following on this?
I mean, the Assistant Attorney General at the Justice Department has unequivocally denied asking Ryan to resign. Do we really? I don't know. This all seems like a fishing expedition for someone that has no actual information.
You think Creed Deeds is doing a fishing expedition?
Yeah, essentially.
Why? I just out of curiosity. I mean, do viewers and listeners, do you agree with that? We're talking. He's a state senator.
Why not ask these questions of Ryan?
Ryan's resigned. He's
Yeah.
on sabbatical.
Yeah, and he's the one that knows why he resigned.
Ryan, okay, so you're saying why not ask Jim Ryan these questions?
Yeah. Yeah, why not ask the guy that
Because
resigned?
the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act requests, and correct me if I'm wrong, viewers and listeners, this is a great question for John Blair. Does it not apply directly to the communication with the BOV instead of someone that's on sabbatical? I mean, technically, is he still an employee of UVA? I mean, I guess he's still an employee of UVA because after the sabbatical is over, which is 14 months, he's going to go work in the law school as a professor.
While he's on sabbatical, he's still getting paid by the university.
Still getting paid from, yeah. So you think Deeds should have, the BOV is much more likely to have to respond than Ryan.
That's fair, I guess. It still seems odd. Why not ask the guy that resigned why he resigned?
Janice Boyce Trevelyan suggests, Jason Noble says he agrees with you, Judah, on asking about Jim Ryan. He also says asking vague questions, probably looking for vague answers so they can be interpreted in the most damning way. I don't trust him, but I'm biased, Jason Noble says of Creed Deeds. I don't think Creed Deeds is coming. I don't trust anybody, frankly, to be honest.
Especially not if they're in the government.
Yeah, especially if you're a politician. But I don't think Creed Deeds is coming at this from a disingenuous angle. I think Creed Deeds is coming at, I mean, maybe the disingenuous angle that Creed Deeds is coming from is that he's a staunch Democrat and he's vehemently opposed to the Trump administration. So he's asking questions through a lens that may paint Trump and the DOJ as ones of overreach. But I think what Creed Deeds is really trying to get after is what did the current rector and vice rector do before they were officially on the board? Mm-hmm. And I find it odd that the current rector and vice rector were meeting with the DOJ when they were not officially Board of Visitors members. I find that, what's the word? It's not, is it shady? I don't know if it's shady, but I think it's overreach for them. Overreach for them to be meeting with the federal government and potentially having a discussion. You go ahead here in a second. Yeah, potentially having a discussion about the president and federal funding.
You make it sound like they approached the DOJ with, like a harebrained scheme, and I'm sure they were probably called to the DOJ.
Do we know that?
No, of course we don't know that.
Do we know if they were called? Why would the DOJ, hear me out. Why would the DOJ ask to meet with two people that are not on the board yet?
Did they know they were going to be on the board?
Of course they did. Youngkin announced the appointments well earlier, but they officially were not on the board. Why would the DOJ ask to meet with two people that are not officially on the board yet? Or did the two people before they were rector and vice rector reach out to the DOJ utilizing the clout and influence that was days away of being the rector and vice rector and being board members?
So these two people, knowing that they're going to be on the Board of Visitors, approaches the DOJ with a plan that but the DOJ didn't need them as leverage against President Ryan.
The DOJ's there's one thought that the Department of Justice, its sole motive was to get Jim Ryan to resign. You've heard that motive, right? Okay. And how they were going to get Ryan to resign was leveraging federal funding.
Yeah.
So was there some kind of backroom deal brokered that said if Ryan resigns, we extinguish our heat and you maintain the federal funding?
But that's kind of understood anyways. It doesn't seem like the kind of...
Ryan wasn't going to resign. It caught everyone by surprise. The George Mason president is in a similar situation.
Yeah.
The George Mason of Board of Visitors said, we're going to stand by our guy, and then paid him more money to show how much they're going to support him.
Gave him a raise, yeah.
That's the complete opposite with what happened at UVA.
Right.
John Blair's got comments. Photos on screen for Blair. Jerry, in answer to your question from yesterday, in 2012, Bob McDonnell replaced some of the Board of Visitors members at Norfolk State. Here's a link to the article. I asked the question yesterday, is there a precedent for a governor replacing Board of Visitors members? I think yesterday I asked it in relation to the University of Virginia. Mm-hmm. But John has highlighted that Bob McDonnell, who I believe is from Virginia Beach, in 2012 replaced board members at Norfolk State. John Blair also says Bob McDonnell didn't technically fire them, but he asked for their resignations and they complied. Also a different scenario, John, thank you for this color and background. Also a different scenario than Burt Ellis, who refused to tenure his resignation and instead was fired by Youngkin for malfeasance and malpractice.
Because he was asked to lie, and he still believes in the
honor code.
Honor code.
Right. So what Burt Ellis did, you can say, is stand up. Burt Ellis is who we thought Burt Ellis would be.
Yeah.
And Glenn Youngkin had to know that. John Blair adds, as to Creed Deeds, I'm curious. I don't know of any legal authority that gives him the power to compel answers from UVA. He can file a FOIA request like anyone else, but I think the state Senate or committee of Senate or a committee of the Senate will need to subpoena documents and witnesses. Again, I can't think of any legal authority that a single senator has to compel answers to his questions except for document requests under FOIA. That's from John Blair. He's in the game. He would know. David Toscano yesterday in person to me. I'm going to reach out to David Toscano and see if David Toscano will join us on the show to talk about this. I think David Toscano would offer tremendous perspective. In fact, viewers and listeners, this is what I'm going to do. I will text David Toscano when this show is over and ask him if he can join us on the I Love CVille show next week. Okay? Toscano told me in person yesterday, downtown Charlottesville, that Creed Deeds absolutely has the authority to do this. You wondered the same question.
Maybe there's some context that we're missing with your question to Toscano.
Perhaps.
I'm just wondering.
I'll ask him. We'll ask him in person on the show.
Because
he's a friend of the program, David Toscano.
John Blair and David Toscano are both two extremely intelligent
both attorneys.
People, and I don't think
Jim Hingley's got comments here. Go ahead.
I don't think it's likely that one of them is wrong here. I think maybe we're just missing some context.
Okay, I 100% agree. I don't think Toscano or Blair are wrong.
Yeah.
We'll get Toscano on the show. In fact, if someone can ping David Toscano and let him know we're giving him props on the program right now. And John also says this: any document produced in the transaction of public business while Ryan was president is still subject to FOIA regardless of whether he resigned or not. If the documents existed before he resigned, then they are subject to FOIA. So that goes to the question that you wondered. John, I got a follow-up question for you. The rector and vice rector currently, Judah. Mm-hmm. The rector is Rachel Sheridan. The vice rector is Porter Wilkinson. They are meeting with the DOJ prior to being on the board. Is that FOIA? Can you FOIA that correspondence prior to being on the board?
Why would you not be able to FOIA it?
Because they weren't official board members yet.
But you could still FOIA. I mean, it's a request for information, right?
Do they have to turn over the information if they're not on the board yet? That's what I'm wondering. Maybe Jim, that's what Jim Hingley's texting about. I'll get to Jim Hingley, his photo on screen. Smart people watching the program today. You guys make the program better. I'm by no means, this is by no means my professional skill set or bailiwick. But the viewers and listeners that are watching the program are. I did not say at a Holiday Inn Express last night either. That's a commercial joke. Let's see. They were on the BOV in June. They had not taken office as record. Okay, so Jim Hingley is correcting me. I apologize. I stand corrected. I am absolutely incorrect. Thank you, Jim Hingley. They had not taken office as rector and vice rector until July. Sheridan appointed in 2023. Wilkinson appointed in 2024. So I stand 100% corrected. Thank you, Jim Hingley. 100% corrected on that. On the BOV then. This is why we have a show right now where we have smart people watching that are holding us accountable. Thank you, Mr. Hingley. Amen. Thank you right there. So absolutely FOIA-able.
Yeah.
What Creed Deeds is doing, I think, is asking very legitimate questions that we all want to know, right?
I mean, I haven't read all those questions. I'm sure somewhere in there's the information we'd all like to know.
Janice Boyce Trevelyan. Why didn't Creed Deeds go after the information about the shooting and other information at UVA unless this is political? That's an interesting take.
What would that information provide?
The release of the report, I think, is what she's going for.
The release of all of the information that was blacked out?
Yeah, the redacted report. I think that's what she's saying. Why didn't Creed Deeds go after the redacted information in the report?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot that he could have asked.
So she's basically saying the only reason that he's doing this with Jim Ryan, the DOJ, the BOV, UVA, is because Creed Deeds is vehemently opposed to Trump and his administration.
I don't know if...
That's what I think she's alluding to. Is that what you're alluding to, JBT?
I don't know if that holds water for me, because the whole reason for him writing this letter is to learn more about President Jim Ryan's resignation. I think that's the whole purpose of what he's doing. So I'm not sure I'm not sure how asking other questions about Jim Ryan would be relevant, but
I'm not sure what you're saying.
But still, everything.
What are you saying?
I'm saying, why would Creed Eads ask about the shooting if his goal is to find out why Jim Ryan resigned?
Her point is, if his true motive is transparency, then that motive for transparency, that pursuit for transparency, would apply for other events that have been covered up. And one of the events that was covered up was the investigation and some of the details with the triple murder at UVA. One of the darkest days at UVA history, if not the darkest. Mm-hmm. For comparison's sake, a triple murder, lack of better phrase, trumps Jim Ryan's resignation from a historical significance standpoint, does it not?
Maybe for us, but I don't see how that would hold true for Creed Eads.
Jim Hinchley says the release of the UVA, and he would know, the release of the UVA triple homicide report was controlled by the court. It is not political, in response to Janice Boyce Trevilian's comment. So JBT, Janice Boyce Trevilian on I Love CVille Facebook, Mr. Hinchley via text message to me says the release of the UVA triple homicide report was controlled by the court, and it is not political. So answering Janice Boyce Trevilian's comments there. This is what we got to do. This is what we got to do. Because frankly speaking, I'm being straightforward and genuine with everyone that's watching the program. I try to read all the stuff, so do you, all the news that's out there to prepare myself for this show. News junkie. I love reading. Even with reading all these news platforms every day, I genuinely feel a bit overwhelmed with this story of Jim Ryan's resignation. I feel overwhelmed with this Jim Ryan resignation story because I have a lot of questions. I'm really close to it. As a guy who went to UVA, his father went to UVA, his brother went to UVA, live in Charlottesville, would love if our kids went to UVA. So perhaps how I'm looking at this is biased or through a lens, even subconsciously or unconsciously, that's a biased viewpoint or lens. I also don't truly understand all this backroom wheeling and dealing that's happened. So I will do my best to try to get folks that are smarter than me on this show. And I think a good person to have on this program on this, and frankly, John Blair's a great guy to have on this program. Jim Hinchley's a great guy to have on this program. I think John, with his professional role with Stanton, and Jim with his professional role with Albemarle County, would perhaps not be able to speak as freely on a show as someone like David Toscano, who is now retired, and who I ran into yesterday and talked about this with him yesterday. So I will do my best, and I think he's willing to do it because he said yesterday he would come on the show. I will text him after the show and see if we can line up an interview for tomorrow. And when we line up that interview for tomorrow, we'll promote the interview in advance and ask you, the viewer and listener, if you'd like to crowdsource any questions with us that we can ask David Toscano. The first question we're going to ask him is the basic one. Does Creed Eads have the authority to do this? And does UVA need to respond? The second question we can ask him is, was this politically motivated? What Creed Eads is doing with this investigation? Another question I'm going to ask him, what if UVA says, we're not going to do anything, Creed Eads? Even if you do have the authority, we're not going to give you anything by the 15th. UVA did that with the Department of Justice. And last check, the DOJ has more clout than Creed Eads does in the Virginia State Senate.
But it's not even UVA. It's two Board of Visitors members.
Right. What if they say we're not even going to do anything?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, these aren't these aren't you and I, normal schmoes. These are, I don't know what they're...
Very sophisticated individuals.
Yeah, and now they're getting a 6-page letter with 46 questions. It sounds like something your teacher sends home with you in 6th grade.
Teachers wouldn't even do this kind of question asking.
A take-home quiz. And, I mean... Are Rachel Sheridan and Porter Wilkinson gonna Zoom each other like half an hour every evening to suss out the answers to these 46 questions?
John Blair says, I have unbelievable respect for Delegate Toscano. I do not think he and I are in disagreement. Senator Deeds can conduct this investigation. However, I'm just pointing out that viewers and listeners should not be surprised if he just gets a FOIA response. UVA can answer his questions that aren't document requests, but I have a suspicion they won't do so.
Yeah.
Appreciate that from John. We're going to ask these questions of Delegate Toscano if he's willing to come on the show, which I think he will. Crazy. This story just is getting more conspiracy, more backroom, wheeling and dealing, more politically motivated, more disingenuous,
It's always been politically motivated.
More. It's. I don't think it's close to going away.
No, I'm surprised he's focused his spotlight on these two. It seems much simpler to just ask Ryan himself, but of course, maybe this is.
It's easier for Cree Deeds to ask these two on the BOV because they were appointed by Youngkin and they're Republicans, where asking Jim Ryan is peppering the martyr, the metaphorical walk-on water guy.
I think this is more visible.
This is more public perception welcomed than going after Ryan, who fell on the sword for the school. If Cree Deeds goes after Ryan and asks him these questions, it's kicking a dog while it's down.
But he wouldn't ask these 46 questions of President Ryan. He could just ask, what's the reason that you stepped down? But I think in this regard, Janice Boyce Trevelyan is probably correct. This is political. This is meant to be seen. It's meant to make the news as it has. Otherwise, he could just. I doubt there's a. What's the antagonistic relationship, if there is any relationship at all. But I doubt there's any antagonism between Cree Deeds and Jim Ryan. He could just ask Jim Ryan.
If you ask Jim Ryan, he comes across as a guy that's kicking a dog that's down.
Really? For asking a question? It doesn't have to be.
If he goes after Jim Ryan, he goes after a guy that's beloved.
But
he's going after the Board of Visitors that is appointed by Youngkin and Republican, the opposite party of him.
Political, as I stated.
Next headline. What do you got?
There have been 3 letters sent to the Board of Visitors, aside from Cree Deeds' letter, since Ryan's resignation. And a lot of people apparently are focusing their questions on the BOV. This was from...
the 3 letters are whose?
The most recent letter was from 142 former professors of UVA, and the other 2 letters were from the General Faculty Council and the Faculty Senate. All, I believe, asking fairly similar questions. What happened? How are you involved? And ultimately, why did Jim Ryan resign?
The story's not going away.
Nobody's asking Jim Ryan why he resigned.
We know why.
No.
Why are you
we
surprised
don't.
by this?
No, we don't. Why would they be asking questions if we knew?
Because you're kicking a dog that's down.
You keep saying that, but I don't think asking Jim Ryan, he's
okay, Judah, then why are they not asking Jim Ryan these questions? What is your take on that?
That's the question I just asked.
Okay, so what is your take on that?
I think there's a lot of politics involved, and a lot of people are trying to make the Board of Visitors look bad. I think they definitely have a reason to ask the Board of Visitors. The Board of Visitors may have some answers here, but ultimately, I think it's nuts that nobody is asking the obvious question of Jim Ryan.
Whoever asked the question of Jim Ryan
Looks like they're kicking a dog when he's down.
loses the perception. Loses the perception game.
So you're admitting that it is a perception game.
We all know that. We all know that. If you go and ask a board these questions, you're asking what could be seen as an institution or people that Youngkin appointed, right? People tied to Trump, people tied to eradicating DEI, people tied to the bull in the China shop, right? But if you go after Jim Ryan, then you look like you're going after the guy that is the one who walked on water and fell on the sword to keep the money coming to UVA, that took the arrow in the chest himself, then allowed the employer to take it. He's the martyr. And whoever attacks the martyr is the one that's going to lose the equity of public perception.
I'm not sure why you keep characterizing questions as attacks.
Because questions are another way of using the word investigation. Questions like Creed Deed, do you sincerely, I sincerely mean this, what he's doing, what Creed Deeds is doing, do you characterize those as just questions, or do you characterize that as an investigation?
I would characterize it as an investigation, but do you honestly think that he would ask the exact same questions of Jim Ryan? There is not the antagonism between a Democratic senator and a largely, if not totally, Republican Board of Visitors that there would be. There's not the same antagonism if Creed Deeds were asking a question of Jim Ryan.
I agree with that.
Phrase 46 questions in very, it wouldn't seem like he was grilling a prisoner.
Okay. The 46 questions he's asked of the rector and the vice rector, would you say that those questions are antagonistic in their approach? Or would you say those questions are looking for the most information possible?
I guess that there's some mix of both of those.
Okay, I'll give you that. The questions that were asked of the rector and vice rector, wouldn't they be the same questions that he would ask Jim Ryan?
No.
You don't think
No, definitely not. Because
you don't think they would be somewhat similar questions?
What information would Jim Ryan have on any of the Board of Visitors meetings with?
Did the Board of
DOJ?
Visitors tell you, Jim Ryan, you need to resign so we could maintain the federal funding from the federal government? That's the question.
Yeah.
Is that not the whole pursuit? Is the whole pursuit of what Creed Deeds is trying to do say, federal government, did the federal government pressure a Jim Ryan resignation by leveraging federal funding?
And to get that answer from Jim Ryan, you don't need 46 questions. You just need one. You phrased it very well.
Deep Throat says, my take is they have already spoken to Jim Ryan. Don't you think so? What Ryan told them is what is informing the questions in these letters. They just had the conversation with him privately.
Interesting. So now they're fishing for actionable information from the Board of Visitors. That makes sense?
That makes sense. I mean, let's have that conversation with Toscano, and he can speak very freely. Georgia Gilmer says, why not FOIA Ryan's resignation letter and ask if he had to sign a non-disclosure agreement? Philip Dow says, in my opinion, all this is politically motivated and planned out once Trump administration came out when they asked for Ryan to step down. They want to make Trump look bad like most Democrats do. We got TV, radio, and print watching us here. Constance Wyatt, the Titan of Troy's queen, is watching the program. Barbara Becker-Tilley, it's all political and always has been. Janice Boyce-Trevelyan, I think it's to make the board look bad. You don't want to tarnish Ryan if he doesn't answer, especially if the plan is for Jim Ryan to be reappointed president. If the plan is for Ryan to be reappointed as president of UVA, you have to leave the martyr in a state of martyrdom.
That's fair.
You cannot have anything negative stick to the martyr if the plan is to reappoint him. And if the Democrat approach is to take Jim Ryan and put him back into Cars Hill, then goodness gracious, that would be an incredible story or an incredible win for the Democrats.
No doubt.
That would basically mean the Democrats staring Trump and the DOJ in the face and doing the exact opposite of what they're saying. That would be something that could be touted in the next election.
Look how we screwed over Trump.
Look what we did in standing up to Trump and the Republicans. You had one other thing that you wanted to add, and then we have to go to the next topic at 1:18. Goodness, we've gone. No, you're good? You're good on that?
Yeah.
Gone 48 minutes. I'll text Toscano as soon as the show is over. All right, next topic we got to get to. What's the next headline? If you could put that on screen, please.
Tourism.
All right, this is a complete opposite type of headline and much more in my lane of content. Tourism, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely exploding. Has exploded yet again. In 2024, it was a record year for tourism. Visitors of the Commonwealth of Virginia spent a record $96 million per day.
Yeah.
$96 million per day, or $35.1 billion in visitor spending in 2024.
Yeah.
A 5.4 increase over 2023 when the number was $33.3 billion. Absolutely an insane amount of money. Overnight visitation to Virginia increased by 1 million people to 44.7 million visitors in 2024, up from 43.6 million in 2023. That surpasses pre-pandemic levels for the first time. So not only has it recovered since COVID, it's at a record-setting amount.
Mm-hmm. Just goes to show people are leaving their houses.
Which goes to show that the pandemic, in a lot of ways, is behind us, but in many other ways, we're still dealing with it. Education, you're still dealing with it. Hybrid remote work, return to office, you're still dealing with it. Real estate's, good God, still dealing with it. Maybe that's a perfect segue into the real estate question. If you put that lower third on screen, why is the inventory not moving as much locally? There are price cuts happening left and right. Now, there's still pockets of Central Virginia where that's not happening. You list a home from the Lewis Mountain neighborhood to the 240-250 split, the home moves. And in some cases, the home is moving above asking price with multiple offer scenarios. But in many other pockets of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia, price cuts are happening left and right. You're seeing it in the city. You're seeing it even in Western Albemarle. I'm seeing price cuts in Old Trail.
Wow.
You're seeing modifications and cuts happening left and right. I just have the question, what's the difference here?
Yeah.
The interest rate environment's the same. What is the difference?
Mm-hmm.
And why the inventory is not moving? And why the price cuts are happening?
It's a good question. I mean, some people might say the prices of houses have gone up, but they've been going up. Everybody knows that. Anybody that's talking to a realtor is being fed the advice to that the best time to buy is yesterday, second best time is today.
Right. Are the sellers still out of touch with the current market? The buyers are more discerning than ever because the rate environment is still somewhat high.
And the prices are high.
And the prices are at an all-time high. So the location and the condition of the property is paramount. Paramount. On top of that, finding someone to do the work on your house is challenging because if you're buying a house that does need work, a lot of the quality folks that do the work are months out before they can help you. Why are they not Why are the price cuts happening, and why is the inventory, the DOM, getting longer? That's what I ask. That's a great question for Real Talk with Keith Smith, Fridays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille network. Next headline, is that Fontaine Avenue?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to ask you, the viewer and listener, this question. Guadalajara restaurant on Fontaine Avenue is for sale for $1,400,000. It also includes the Atlas Coffee building. $1,400,000 asked for the Guadalajara and the Atlas Coffee. Who's the buyer for this? What's the best use for this? What's going to happen? Is this UVA chomping at the bit to buy it? Will UVA buy this?
It's a great question.
UVA bought the Moe's Barbecue real estate. The landlord of Moe's Barbecue on Ivy Road. We helped broker the sale of that restaurant from Mike and Ashley Abrams to Derek Bond, who also owns the Melting Pot. Derek Bond is a fantastic restaurateur. Moe's Barbecue is crushing it. His landlord is UVA, the UVA Foundation. They purchased this restaurant to essentially play Monopoly with its pursuit of Ivy Square Shopping Center purchase. I think it was like $22 million. They bought Ivy Square Shopping Center, where Foods of All Nations is. Moe's Barbecue is right next to it. And they're playing Monopoly with connecting an academic village from the Boar's Head to grounds proper, as we know.
Is Moe's included? Is the property that Moe's is on included in what the what is it? The UVA Foundation that doesn't have to pay taxes, or is that? I'm just curious because I don't know that UVA has a whole lot of businesses on property like this that would normally, like whoever's, if it was originally owned by the owner by Derek, he would obviously be paying property taxes to. I'm sure that's probably
What are you
Albemarle
saying?
County. Is that now off the tax rules?
Foundation pays taxes, UVA does not.
Okay. And is this owned by the foundation?
Believe this is owned by the foundation.
Okay.
Very confident it does.
All right. Sorry
Yeah.
that question took so long.
Yeah. Ivy Square Shopping Center, taxes.
Okay. Gotcha.
In regards to Guadalajara on Fontaine and Atlas, does UVA buy it to connect the dots with Paul Manning Biotech Institute? Or does it stay a restaurant? Is this a restaurant owner-operator buying this? Is this someone to buy it to knock it down and build something in its place?
Yeah.
Fantastic location.
No doubt.
The 1.4 seems reasonable to me. Curious to see what happens to it. I see a much slimmer buyer pool for owner-operator.
Yeah.
I see a maybe slightly more robust buyer pool for a buyer who then leases to a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
I see potentially a slightly larger buyer pool for a buyer who then pursues another opportunity for the location, because the dirt's the value. And I see maybe the biggest buyer pool with UVA pursuing it. The biggest likelihood with UVA pursuing it. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else on the docket?
Nothing on our list.
Friday, tomorrow at 10:15 is a big big debate, Q&A with Missile and Smith.
Yep. No doubt.
Scott Smith and Fred Missile. I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah. I wish we had more of these.
Yeah, well, I should put more effort into lining these up.
I mean,
That's not on you. That's on me.
I mean, I don't think it's on you either.
I mean, it is.
I just don't see there being a lot of debate on around our political appointees in Central Virginia.
Do the viewers and listeners want more content or more shows tied to us bringing guests Like, genuine question for the viewers and listeners. Do you like it with Jude and I doing the show and talking about stuff and featuring your opinions and takes, viewers and listeners? Or would you like to see us welcoming more guests on the show? I'm open to the feedback. In some ways, getting the guests on the show makes the show easier for us. In other ways, getting the guests on the show makes the show also more challenging because you're booking guests and trying to work schedules, etc.
I wasn't trying to suggest that we need to have guests all the time. I just like the fact that every once in a while we can have some political opponents or people people running against each other.
I would love if we had contested elections all the time because it would give us more content to talk about. Yeah. One of the golden ages, one of the best times to do this show was when Allison Spillman and Meg Bryce were going toe-to-toe for the at-large seat in the school board. That was content for days. All right. Thursday edition of the show. Thank you kindly for joining us. He's Judah Wickhauer. He does a fantastic job. My name is Jerry Miller. 10:15 a.m. tomorrow, guys, for Smith and Missile. And then I'll text David Toscano right now. Thank you for joining us so long.